friends, welcome to Liberty Mills Homestead. This is Sage here. Tonight we are in my kitchen and I am making bone broth. So I wanted to show you the best way that I have found to make it, and it is so fast, so easy, and at least so fast in that your time is not taken. It does need a while to sit, but you can do it. I like to do it in the evening. That's why I'm here right now in the evening doing it. I start it and then let it sit all night long, and then the next day, even when I think about it, when I have the time, I still have to take the kids to school, get them all ready. Then after I've done all that and I have time to deal with it, then I will take it off and do the next steps. I do like to can it, and so I wanted to take you along to show you how the whole process, how I make it, how I can it, and get it ready to be in our pantry. So the first thing, of course, you need a chicken carcass. This is just the Costco one. Every time I go, I pick up a couple and I make some broth with it after I've after I've taken the meat off the bones. If you have your own chicken that you raise and butcher, that's amazing, and that will work just fine. We don't have our own right now to butcher, but this has been working for us. Hopefully this summer we'll get some meat birds and we'll have some more in the freezer. So this is what we need is, for what I enjoy doing, I like doing it in the Instant Pot. You can do it on the stove, you can do it in the slow cooker. For me, the Instant Pot, I like just putting it on either high pressure or even soup/broth, and it will cook for, I want to say, 2 to 4 hours. I'll double check that when we go to set it. I can't remember what the highest setting is, but I just let it do the full cook, and then I let it just sit overnight after it's done, because it's still pretty hot in here for a while. And to me, it seems like it keeps cooking the rest of the night, even if it's lower temperature heat, and then it'll still be warm the next day. So all of these, here's the canned broth already. I wanted to show you. You see how there's such a difference in color? That's just because of the different ingredients that I put in it, but they are still both delicious. Different vegetables, just whatever I had on hand at the time. But they both taste great. I cook rice with it. Any type of soups, they're super yummy. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is put the carcass in the Instant Pot, and then I'll show you the other ingredients. Okay, so this will just go right in there. I even just keep that string on there, and all of the fat and juices, they all go in as well. So that we'll put aside. And then what's so nice about bone broth, you can do it with beef bones. You can even just do a vegetable stock. So you don't even need to have bones. So if you just want a vegetable soup and broth, you can do the same process just with only vegetables. But I have the chicken, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the chicken broth. But the collagen from it is what's so good for you. And right now I do have a cold, if you can't hear that, but hopefully the collagen and all the good stuff in that will help me get better. So what's amazing is that you can put anything you have that's left over in your fridge, in your pantry, any spices that you have. If you don't have, it's not a big deal. So I've got some carrots that I've already just broken up. I'm gonna go ahead and toss those in there, and some celery, just kind of stuff in there, some onions, and you can do all of the skins can go in, the tops of the celeries can go in. You don't really need to peel it unless peel the carrots unless they're super dirty. And it's really just up to you. If you want to, you're welcome to, but The skins are great for the soups. I even have a lime that's kind of past its prime. I'm gonna go ahead and just put in there. I don't have any garlic bulbs right now, but I do have the minced garlic, so I'll just shake a little bit in there. And nothing is an exact science, an exact measurement. You can do whatever you want. I've got some dehydrated green onions, some chives, some black peppercorn, and then, if I can get it, a couple bay leaves. And I've got some mustard seed. And then the herbs de Provence. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but this one has lavender, rosemary. Let me see. You can see that. Basil, marjoram, fennel, parsley, tarragon, and thyme. So this way I don't have to grab all the individual herbs, and I don't have any, it's winter, so, well, starting to become spring. So I don't have any fresh herbs right now. Some sage, and then coriander seed, and then that one did not have oregano, so I'm gonna put some oregano in it. Okay, and then one of the most, salt. I guess salt is pretty important. I'm using Redmond's real salt. It does say sea salt, but it's Redmond's. I enjoy their salt. And then one of the most important things, you want to use some apple cider vinegar. It's, again, not like an exact science on how much. I usually do about a 1/4 cup. And what that's going to do is going to pull out the collagen from the bones, and it just helps that process. And so we'll pour some of that in there, and then we will fill it up with water just to cover it until you've got your fill line, and then we will start it. So we'll put a little bit more. And you want to fill it all the way to that max line if you're using an Instant Pot. Otherwise, just as much broth as you want, because that liquid is going to turn into the broth. So you don't want to put just a little bit, otherwise you're only going to get a little bit of broth. Okay, so that's at the max line. Okay, put the lid on, plug it in. Okay, and now I am just going to hit the soup/broth. So I'm gonna double check that I can't go higher. I'm gonna do the longest amount of cook time it'll give me. All right, 4 hours. Okay, so then we're gonna go ahead and just start it, and it'll start on its own, and we'll let it cook for 4 hours, and I'm just gonna go to bed after this. Let's make sure the pressure or the vent is sealed. But yeah, it's so easy, so quick. So I'm just gonna let that sit, cook for 4 hours. I'm not even gonna worry about it when it beeps. I'm just gonna go ahead and go right to sleep. The next day, when I am ready, I will open it up and then show you the next step. Okay, so now it's the next morning. As you can see, it says it's been sitting 9 hours and 32 minutes past the cook time, so it's been about 13.5 hours. This is what it looks like. It was still pretty hot. In fact, the lid was still sealed to it, so I had to release some of the pressure. So even though it only cooked for 4 hours and it sat for 9.5 hours, it was still really hot. I can touch it, but it's hot. So the next step is what we're going to do is just strain it. I like to just do it right into a pot that I can heat it up later. A stock pot works great. My stock pot's being used right now, so I'll just use this nicer pot. But so we'll strain it and then we'll put it in the fridge. And why we put it in the fridge is we want all of the fat from the bones and the collagen to harden on the top, and then we can scoop it off so we can can it, and it won't have the fat particles of the hardened fat in with your canned broth. So you can save that fat and use it in any type of cooking if you'd like. I've done that before and it works great. So we'll go ahead and strain it, and then we'll put it in the fridge, and then I'll show you once it's all cold and the fat's on top what that looks like. All right, so now it has chilled in the fridge, and as you can see, the fat has separated and it's sitting all on the top. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is just skim that, and you can save it like I said before. You can save it and just put it in with your sauteing, and it just adds some extra flavor. And then after that, I'll just warm it up on the stove to get it ready for canning. Okay, so I've heated up the broth. Normally I would have a lot more. I normally do two carcasses, 2 batches of bone broth, but because I only have probably maybe even get only 3 or 4 jars, I'll go ahead and can it though still to show you the process. But how I like to do it, because you're putting in a hot boiling broth into a jar, you want your jars to be hot. So when I wash it, I just put hot water in it and I leave the hot water in until I am ready to put the broth into it. And so I'll just go ahead and pour that out right before, and then fill the jar. And you do not have to do these steps and can it. You can just stop after you've made the broth and after you've strained it, and you can just put it in containers and put it in the fridge right then and use it that week. I do like to have some in my pantry to be able to use, so every time I go to the store and I pick up some chicken, I'll just always can it. So you want to leave about an inch headspace, so just about right before it starts curving up, so it's just under that first line. So I'll just finish filling these up. I honestly might even only get 3 cans, but we'll just see how much I get. All right, so I was able to get 4. I left it on the stove too long and some of it evaporated, so it's okay. We'll just go ahead and can 4. Like I said, normally I like to do more. Usually around 12 of them I can get. But this is the pressure canner that I have. It's just the Presto. It's a 23 quart. You want to put, when you're pressure canning, you want to put 3 quarts of water in it. But if you have a different pressure canner, follow the instructions on yours, because they can all be different. So that's all I'm going to recommend, is just follow the instructions on your canner if you've got one. and you're gonna can along with me. So I've washed the lids. So before that, actually, you want to wipe the rims just to make sure there's nothing sticky on it from the broth, just so it seals correctly. And then we'll go ahead and put the lids on, and then do a ring, and you just do it at fingertip or finger tight, not too tight, not too loose. Okay, and then we'll just go ahead and put them in. With pressure canning, if you have a lot of jars, you can stack them. They will all can and seal the same. The water doesn't need to be covering them. Water bath canning is when you need to cover the jars. So we'll just go ahead and put those in there and then put the lid on. All right, and then one thing I forgot to mention is that you want your water in the canner to be warm before you put the hot jars into it, because you don't want that change in temperature to be so drastic that the jars crack. So you want all of them to be similar temperature. So the lid's on, then we'll put the, oh, I can't remember what that's called, a rocker onto it. And then we'll go ahead and it's going. We'll put it on high for now, just to get the pressure going. We are at a higher elevation. We're about 4,500 feet in elevation. And so for us, we need to do it at about 13 pounds of pressure. So I'll just watch that, and when it starts to get at 10, then I'll start lowering the heat to about medium low, and then it should slowly start going at 13 pounds of pressure. And then we'll do that for 20 minutes. We'll have it at the 13 pounds of pressure for 20 minutes. And again, you could be in a different elevation, so you really just need to go based off of your canner. Don't follow mine because we are in a different location, so I just want you to be safe. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and wait for that and show you when it's done. All right, so it's reached 13 pounds of pressure, if you can see that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and set the timer for 20 minutes. And that's when you're gonna start your timer. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes, so I'll go ahead and turn that off. As you can see, it actually ended up going to 15 pounds of pressure, but that's okay. As long as it's not under the 13 pounds, it's okay. And this is kind of rocking a little bit. So I'll just go ahead and turn the heat off and then let this go to zero pressure, depressurize on its own. And when it's at zero pressure, we'll just leave it for another 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then we'll take the lid off, and then we can take the jars out. Okay, so the pressure canner has released that pressure naturally, and so now I can go ahead and I opened the lid, and now we can pull them out. Don't just grab them. You want to use some type of jar lifter. They're very, very hot. And then also you want to put them on some type of soft surface, like, well, a towel, not super soft. You don't want to fall over, but putting them straight on the counter, that change of temperature onto a cold counter can shock the glass. So now we'll just let them sit. If you can see, one of them is a little lighter. I did have to thin that one out with some water because I ran out. But now we'll just wait and listen for the pops of the lids. They'll seal on their own. This little, you can see it's kind of raised, this lid, the center.
So when it's sealed, it's going to sink in and you're going to hear a little pop. And so once they're all popped, and we'll just leave them on the counter for about a day. Then once they're all popped and sealed, and if any of them didn't seal, we'll just put them in the fridge and just use them first, and that's okay. But once they've cooled down and have sat for about a day, and if they've all sealed, then we'll go ahead and label them and put them in the pantry. So that's super straight, or pretty easy, I feel like. There's not too many steps. So if you enjoyed this, and if you follow along and can some bone broth, let me know. And if you have any tips for me, I would love to hear about them. But I hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you next time.